Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Amateur Experts Podcast, where we are experts about absolutely nothing. And surprise, surprise, it's not a football show today. Uh, so, obviously, we have opening day starting here. We're 3 days away now, which, I mean, really, two and a quarter. But baseball season is back finally, and we are both extremely excited about it. It's definitely my second favorite sport. I know it's Andrew's probably favorite sport, but
Yeah.
football reigns supreme in this household, and then just slightly underneath it is baseball season. Um, so, needless to say, we're both really excited. What's been going on, man? How you feeling about baseball season being back?
Man, I feel good. It really is for me. It's the best time of the year, man. I'm kind of flip-flop from you. Baseball is the favorite sport for me, and then football is kind of right below that. So yeah, it's good to be back, man. It's good to have the season back. Good to finally have St. Louis Cardinals baseball back. Just from a bias standpoint. Um, yeah, just get that out of the way. We both got Cardinals
Yeah,
bias, so you're just gonna have to forgive us
yeah,
whenever we
it
talk
is.
about some
It
stuff
is what it
related to
is.
that. Um, but yeah, I mean, man, it's good to have baseball back. It's definitely a beautiful thing. And while we're talking about baseball, our we just had our fantasy draft over the weekend, and there's a 10-team home league head-to-head points league, and that is up on our YouTube channel as well. We had quite a few people from the league join us on the Zoom call and shared our screen and just did it right there and
Well,
recorded it. So
Drew shared his screen.
yeah, I got
I
I
didn't
got set
share
up.
mine.
Yeah, I got set up. Yeah, but yeah, so that's up too. But yeah, it's good to get to talk some baseball, man.
Yeah, for sure. And like he was saying, if you're into fantasy baseball, you kind of want to see how the teams played out. You kind of want to get some strategy. Maybe you're drafting, going in, the day before the season starts, Tuesday, Wednesday, something along that line. Maybe you just want to kind of get a little bit more familiar with how drafting usually ends up in a Major League Baseball draft. Go check it out. Let us know, how the teams look to you. Who's your favorite pick? Who has the best team, you think? I think
I can give my
everybody's
hint.
pretty everybody's pretty even, man. Like this, like we were
Yeah,
going through
I
the
agree.
rosters, and I mean, there's
Yeah,
not really a bad even the auto picks, for some of the
came
guys
out
that weren't
well.
able to make it. They got some pretty good rosters there. And
Yeah,
I know I've been really excited seeing trades already pop off. Like as soon as the draft
yeah.
ends, like there's been people trading, and I've kind of been trying to get into a little bit of trade talks myself with some guys, and haven't had anything materialized yet, but I think we got some stuff in the works. So, Jay Barlow, you should get back to me.
Good luck with that, man. I can't. I don't want to stray too far away from what we're talking about today, but I'm gonna air out mine and Jay's conversation because it's just so Jay that I
Oh,
can't help myself.
okay.
I'm not gonna name any of the players or anything because I don't want to put everything out there. But Jay hit me up asking for a certain position. I told him what I wanted for said position. Um, I said, I want this plus what? You tell me plus what you're going to give me. And I thought he was talking about this one player who I had higher value, but he was talking about somebody that was less, like, that was in line with the person that I was going to be giving him that I would have been okay doing it straight up with. But he thought I was talking about the guy that I already had as about the same value. And he was like, well, they're pretty even, so I probably wouldn't give up much. And I was like, oh, you're talking about him. All right, well, yeah, I'll just do that straight up. I like that. And and then he was like, wait, why? Well, why do you want to do it? Like, but and then he back the trade that he said that he would want to do, he backed out. He ended up backing out of because I agreed to it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like he was like, wait, no, I did something wrong. Why does he want to do the trade?
Yeah. I will throw some players' names, because I know there's some guys in the league that listen to this. They'll probably get a kick out of this one. But one of which, I mean, I know this is kind of given away to strategies and stuff, but I mean, whatever, it's part of doing a podcast.
Yeah,
You're gonna hear shit. So I was really targeting Trey Mancini in the draft. He's a guy I think that's up for a really good year, and I
I
thought he was
agree.
going to be a really good value pick at outfield that I could possibly get that sixth, seventh round. Well, Jay picked on the turn right before me in the draft, it snaked him away. Like one pick before I was going to take him, Jay took him. So I really wanted Trey Mancini. So I hit him up the other day and I'm like, hey man, like, you interested in moving Mancini? He's like, yeah, it depends though. And I was like, okay, well, just take a look. Let me kind of know what you're thinking here, and then just get back to me. I was like, okay. So, a couple hours go by, he hits me up. He goes, what about Woodruff? What about Brandon Woodruff?
Shoot your shot, man.
Yeah, I was like, hey, dude, like, I mean, I appreciate the hustle. Like, potential top 10 starting pitcher for a, decent, like I said, and I'm high on the guy too. Like, I really think he's in for a good year. I don't think he's in for a top 10 pitching year. So I told Jay, I was like, man, you're gonna have to move off him a little bit. I was
Yeah.
like, nah, I told him, I was like, you want to throw in, like Kendricks and maybe somebody else like that, then we can talk Woodruff. But yeah, so nothing ever came of that deal, but I still kind of got my eye on him. I'm gonna see what I can work out with him. Um, so if you're, like I said, if you're listening to this, Jay, I'm gonna need you to get back to me because I know I texted you last. I'm waiting on your reply. But let's kind of get in now to the actual baseball season.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, kicks off Thursday. We're both really excited. We have our predictions on how we think things are going to play out. Obviously, there's some give and take here because we didn't want to have all the same answers, which I'm sure if you were reading this, whenever you clicked on the YouTube video, obviously you can't see it if you're listening, but if you clicked on the YouTube video, very, very similar.
I could not believe it whenever you emailed your stuff over to me and I put them side by side in this document. I was sitting there looking at it like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. It was crazy.
Look, great minds think alike, man. You got two guys that like baseball, and we'll see what happens. But so what we're gonna do here, we're just gonna go over a few different things here. We've got our division winners, who we think are gonna end up taking the divisions, making the postseason. We have our wild card teams, our World Series matchup with the winners, our AL MVP, our NL MVP, our Cy Young Award winners from both conferences, and our rookies of the years for both conferences. So obviously we can just kind of get started here with the division winners. We're going to kind of start here with the National League, since it is our favorite conference.
Yeah, it's the best of the two leagues for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And we will start here with the NL East, where we both have the Atlanta Braves taking the NL East and making the postseason. I know we probably kind of have the same feelings on this team as well. So I'll kind of let you iterate what your feeling on the Braves are.
Yeah, I mean, so last year they only fell like one game short of the World Series, and then they signed Charlie Morton, Drew Smiley. Still waiting for Soroka to get back from his injury. So I mean, on the surface, the starting pitching looks a little shaky, but I don't think it's as bad as it looks. I think Ian Anderson can be in for a huge year. And then the offense is just loaded. I mean, that's the part to where it can kind of make up for what they're missing in pitching for now until guys get healthy. And you see how some of the signings work out. But they're going to have one of the best offenses in baseball. So that's what kind of put them slightly over the New York Mets for me. The Mets were the only team I was considering putting over Atlanta, but didn't end up going that route. But so this is, I think Philly and Washington, I think, have a little bit of potential to be better than I think some people might think, but I don't know if they'll be good enough to challenge either of those teams for the top two spots in the division.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you a little bit. Where we do differ is I really do like the pitching rotation, especially with Freed. I think if Soroka can kind of get back to that 2019 season, if he can kind of show that form that he had. Obviously, you bring in a guy like Morton, and Ian Anderson, I think, is on the path to being a terrific pitcher as well. So I think they have a very deep rotation. I think they can possibly
Max Fried's solid too. I mean,
yeah.
that's whenever
I was gonna say, and he's probably the number one pitcher. So
that's what whenever I was looking at what other people were saying, in terms of who they thought were going to be in the coming out of the NL East, and there was a lot of shade toward the Braves, and I was kind of surprised. There one calculator even had them at, I forgot which one it was, but had them down in like fourth in the division.
Yeah.
And but
That's
I just don't
crazy.
see anything
That's
like that. I
crazy.
mean,
And then like
y-
you get into like you have guys, which I mean, I know they weren't that good in the regular season, but if you watch the postseason and whenever they were just one game out of taking the Dodgers out, if you remember Kyle Wright and Bryce Wilson were both lights out in the postseason last year. And I think if they can carry that momentum into the season too, those are some guys to watch out for. Um, I think they sign Drew Smiley as well
yeah,
into the bullpen. So yeah, I mean I think there's a lot of potential there for a really deep rotation. And then like you're not even getting in to the hitting lineup, which is just super solid all the way through.
yeah,
You have your guys, obviously, you want Ozuna to kind of keep doing what he's doing. I know he's coming into his age 30 season, but um, solid. Acuna is, you know, we know what he is. So
yeah. One of the best players in baseball.
yeah, and then obviously there's just so much there that you can go with the hitting. So I think if the pitching and the hitting line up, that's a very, very dangerous team to watch out for come postseason time if they do end up taking the division like we predicted. So so our next team up, just go ahead and get this out of the way early. The NL Central. Um, Obviously, your St. Louis Cardinals, we both have. If you didn't know, now you know. Um, and I think this is more obviously the Nolan Arenado trade. We've went over it, on past episodes, and we could sit here and talk for the next hour about that trade alone.
Yeah,
But I think this is honestly more of I mean, there's still some questions with the Cardinals as far as the hitting lineup goes and the pitching staff. I think um, maybe some of those outfielders can get their bats going because as great as a defensive team as the Cardinals do end up being, there are some questions on the back end of that lineup in the hitting rotation. So, but for me, this basically boiled down to the Cardinals were the only team in the Central that is basically trying to win the Central. Uh, there wasn't a lot of moves from any other teams, especially the Cubs. You lose Darvish and some of those other guys, and that's going to take a hit. Um, I I know you're rare to talk about the Cardinals, so that pretty much just covers mine. Like I said, we can spend an hour just doing Cardinals talk, but it basically just boils down to they're the only team that made a big move. Is trying to they're trying to go all in and win the division, and the other teams were just very stagnant and didn't really do anything.
yeah. One team I think does deserve a little bit of attention is Milwaukee, though. I mean, they're a much better defensive team now that they've got Colton Wong at second and Jackie Bradley Jr. out in the outfield. Those were two pretty solid signings. They still have probably the two best relievers in
Relievers,
baseball in
yeah,
their bullpen.
Slater and Williams.
Um, they are betting on guys that usually have it stay healthy to stay healthy in their rotation. But if those guys do, if Woodruff stays healthy, and there's a couple other guys behind him that have follow the kind of the same pattern. So they're going to be banking on that. That's going to be a huge thing for them. But I do think they have the pieces to
They can
challenge
definitely
St. Louis
contend.
for the division.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I do think they're the only team that's at that point. Definitely. I mean, the Cubs did kind of start to take um, a dip down. I think the fact that
Le-
Darvish is gone,
Lester's gone.
and I mean, whenever you look at their starting rotation, it's a bunch of guys that depend on putting the bat on the ball and getting outs with the defense behind them. And they don't really have strikeout pitchers. They've got pitch to contact pitchers, and I wouldn't be surprised if this to be a trade deadline where some guys possibly get moved. I mean,
Yeah,
um,
Baez, Bryant, Rizzo.
Rizzo, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, you could
yeah,
see if they start to trend down, at the trade deadline, those could possibly be moving pieces. So, I don't know. And then Cincinnati obviously losing Trevor Bauer.
that's a huge
Um,
for them.
yeah.
And then
So
we don't really want to waste time with the Pirates.
yeah,
That's
no,
going to be probably the worst team in baseball.
yeah,
I think
Yeah.
pretty clearly. And then they traded too. I believe they were already bad, and then I believe they lost Bell. They traded Josh Bell.
Yeah, to
So
Washington. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, now I do like the rookie they have going up. That was the difference for me. I know what so with rookie of the year, which we're going to get into here in a little bit. They do have a very strong NL rookie of the year contender.
Yeah, Brian Hayes is a beast.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that kid's got a very bright future, but that team is still quite a ways away from contending.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
so we'll kind of move on from the Central there. Both have the Cardinals. Really looking forward to the season. I know both of us are really excited, especially possibly to get out to some games now that they're allowing fans back. If the ticket prices ever go down,
Yeah.
under $400 a ticket.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to say I touched on every team in the Central except for the Cardinals somehow.
Yeah,
Last year, I think their OPS was like I think the Pirates might have been the only team that were worse, and obviously Arenado's going to help that, but they're like you said, there's still some questions within that lineup. But luckily, when even though I didn't want Bader to get hurt, one good thing that I think is going to come from that is it's going to truly give the young outfield talent that we have the competition that we've been hoping to see for a few years now. Um, there's a lot of talent they've had built up in the farm system for outfielders for a long time, and we don't really know what we have because they also have major league ready talent at the outfield position at the time, and these guys were kind of just stacking up in the minors, and now um, here we are, and the entire outfield is going to be made up by these guys. So it's going to be good to see what we've got and be able to finally move forward in that direction with that position. But I mean, they're going to be one of the best defensive teams in baseball again.
yeah,
They've got one of the best bullpens in baseball.
probably the best,
Starting.
probably the best infield defensively, um, without a doubt.
Oh yeah,
Baseball.
yeah. I don't think that's even a question now that they've got Arenado. Yeah. Even with losing Wong, Tommy Edman isn't Colton Wong, but he's good enough to still keep them, in that
Right. And
conversation.
then, Goldschmidt, Yachty's back another year.
Yeah, Paul DeYoung was, I mean, he's one of the best defensive shortstops in the league. So, yeah, I mean, they're set around the infield. It really just comes down to what the starting pitchers behind Jack Flaherty can do, because I mean, I'm confident in Wayno,
Yeah, for sure.
but
Especially with the way he's looked in spring.
yeah,
He,
he's looked great in
he's
spring.
looked great this spring.
Um, so I don't have as much worries at the spot right behind Flaherty, but my worries do start after that. I mean, we
And Toss
Michaelis
Daly
and
on has not looked good at all.
no, Michaelis and Kim are going to both be starting out
Yeah,
on the injured list, and um, Alex Reyes is the third
limited.
best option on the
Yeah,
team, and he's not going to get to be a starter because they're going to limit him to 100 innings of relief baseball in
mhm.
hopes of him being in the rotation next year. Which I mean, I understand them
Which
taking
yeah,
that
because
with his injury history. They want you got to get him to that point. You got to take your time to really get to see what you got with him. Like you can't just keep running him out there and letting him get hurt.
but I can tell you,
So
if he looks anything like he has this spring, then the Cardinals probably have their next ace on their hands if he can stay healthy.
yeah, yeah, and they're going to have to really force themselves not to put him in the rotation if he looks as good as he has. Because, I mean, Carlos Martinez, he's the ultimate wild card, man. You have no idea what you're going to get from him. Anytime I see that he's the starting pitcher for the game, I'm like, man, this guy could go throw a no hitter, or he might give up
Or
10
yeah,
runs in
yeah, I
the
was gonna
second
say
inning.
like we could be going
Like,
into the third inning
I,
down 9-1. So
so who knows, man. And so I mean, this the two signings I'm really going to watch this season that the Cardinals missed out on that I wanted to see were Jock Peterson in the outfield
and Odorizzi,
and Jake Odorizzi
Odorizzi.
for the starting pitching. Those were two signings that wasn't going to cost a lot of money. That even after the Arenado trade, I haven't looked at the math after looking at what the Cubs and the Astros gave them, but I think that it would have been doable to have both of those guys.
I think
Um,
Odorizzi too. Like he got a very very fair 1 year deal.
right.
I don't think there's any question the Cardinals could have made that work.
Yeah, so those will be the two guys I'll be watching to see what could have been kind of from this offseason. But other than that, I'm extremely happy with the offseason they had. I mean, Nolan Arenado was my second favorite non-Cardinal at the time, and now I don't even have to say that anymore because he is a Cardinal now. He's just my,
Yeah, but
one of my favorite
regardless
players on my
of
team.
regardless of how the season ends up playing out, it's going to be a fun season.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got Yachty
we're
and
going to
Wayno
have
back
fun.
for at least one more year. So I'm, gonna enjoy that as long as I possibly can,
Right.
because that's gonna come to an end eventually. And I do hope they go out together same year, whether that's this year, next year. I don't know. I hope they keep coming back together and they leave together because their careers are so intertwined at this point that it just. And then hell, give them an attached statue outside the stadium
For
together too.
sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, like what they've meant to the team or to to this organization for the entire time they've been here together.
And not only the organization, I mean, just in terms of like how great of players they have been for such a prolonged period of time. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
Especially Molina. You're talking about probably you know, outside of maybe Pudge, probably the greatest catcher that has ever played the game. And
yep.
that guy will for sure be getting a statue with some of those other guys outside of Bush.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's no doubt getting a statue. Him and Pujols better too. Those are two
Yeah,
guys that that I think once their careers are both coming to an end.
yeah.
Um,
Put him right next to Ozzy.
Yeah, yeah, I think both of those guys are going to have one out there, and I think Wayno's got a decent shot at one too. But we'll see. I don't know, but I think Yachty and Pujols for sure.
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
So,
All right.
but yeah, let's
All
move
right.
on.
So we like I said, we can make this a full hour long Cardinals conversation. So we'll leave it at that. We'll
Yeah.
go ahead and move on. So now we were going to get started with the AL and the AL East. We both have the same team here, the New York Yankees.
Wait,
Um,
did we go through the NL West?
we did not go through the NL West. We did not. See, I thought we were doing so long on the. I was like, man,
Yeah.
surely we've done the National League. So yeah. Well, spoiler alert for our next conversation. Now you know. But let's
Yeah.
touch on the NL West, which to me is probably the most loaded division in baseball.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just completely stacked, and any of these teams honestly could break through, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit if you know um, well, I wouldn't say any of them because there you got the Diamondbacks and
I
stuff.
think there's two
There's
extremely great
two.
teams,
Yes, there's
one pretty good team, and then two pretty bad teams.
yeah,
But the two really good teams are really
really
damn
good
good. Like probably the two best teams in the
baseball.
National League.
I'd probably say in
Um,
baseball.
it's definitely. I mean, I think the Yankees are up there. Just I mean, I don't have them winning the American League, but um, yeah, I mean, man, those two, the watching Dodgers Padres games this year is going to be a blast.
Oh man, I
Like,
can't wait. And then
man,
like that's partly the reason why I drafted Darvish as well, is just because like now every time I turn on a Padres game, because the Padres are going to be super fun with Darvish
yeah,
and those other guys there. So
Manny
they like not only are
Machado.
they a great team, that's going to be a fantastic team to watch. And
Hmm.
so now I'm going to have some rooting interest as well on watching Padres games. But as great, we can sit here and talk about all the wonderful things about the Padres, but we both have the Dodgers winning the division. And anytime you take the World Series champs and then you add a guy like Trevor Bauer to
You add the former Cy Young winner.
yeah, I mean the rich get richer. It is what it is. The Dodgers to me are probably the best team in baseball right now,
Yeah,
and
yeah, definitely.
they're in for a fun season for sure. Um, so we do have the Dodgers winning that. Is there anything you want to touch on them with?
No, not really. I mean, the pitching rotation is insane. The lineup, top to bottom, is insane. They're assuming they stay healthy. I don't see any way they don't run through the National League.
Yeah,
Um, and then I think the Giants are a decent team. I think they could possibly make a run in a wild card spot. I think there's too many talented teams in the National League for them to get one, but I do think that they're going to be better than most people probably think from what I've seen.
yeah,
But I mean, as far as the winning the division goes, though, this is a two-team race.
yeah. And then you have other teams like Arizona, who's, I mean, they're just kind of right there in the middle of the field. Like they're not terrible, but they're not good. And
Yeah, I mean
then
Zach Gallen's a bright spot in the rotation, I think.
Bumgarner is still there, I believe as well. So
Yeah,
um, yeah, and so and then you have the Rockies, and I
they're
guess
just running into the ground
yeah, I mean I guess you still got Trevor Story there, but
for now.
yeah,
He
for
probably
now
won't. He
we'll
probably
see what
won't
happens.
last either.
Coors Field looks nice. I mean that's it's a beautiful field.
Yeah, it's a beautiful stadium. That's about the only positive thing you can say
Yeah,
about that play about the Colorado situation right now.
yeah. So now, even though I tried to jump the gun on this, we will get to the AL East, going into the other conference here, and like we were both saying, we do have the New York Yankees winning it. They're, I think, pretty clearly the second best team in baseball, that can challenge the Dodgers, and you know, obviously in true Yankees fashion, they've got the highest payroll once again in baseball. But that's just a very solid run. I mean, fantastic pitching staff.
They're
You know,
banking on health with their pitching staff. They've got a lot of guys with Corey Kluber and um, oh, why am I? I mean, they're not concerned about Garrett Cole, but I'm forgetting about the other guy that is coming back from injury. Jameson Talion, and there was one more too. The guy that was the ace of the staff a couple years ago. They've got like three of their starters coming back off injuries. But I mean, I think if Aaron Judge can put together a full healthy season, I think he has a chance of winning MVP. But I
Stanton
wouldn't,
is another guy that
yeah,
stays
I
healthy.
wasn't, I wasn't willing to bet on Judge's health enough to make him my MVP. But I do think that if he stays healthy, that's a real possibility. But yeah, I mean, this team's just loaded, man. So it's tough not to pick them. I do still
Yeah,
think Tampa is a good team, even with the loss of Blake Snell. Um, I mean,
they're already
the
they're
route,
already dealing with injuries too because
yeah,
my boy fucking Voight, I couldn't even get 24 hours out of him before he heads the fucking IL.
yeah,
Uh, just my luck.
yeah, that's true. And that's, I mean, the injuries were a real problem for them last year too. So, if they could stay healthy, I do think they're the clear best team in the American League. But um, still, not a perfect roster, but they're going to be tough out.
Yeah, and I really like Toronto as well. In that, I think Toronto is a pretty sneaky good team as well. George Springer, obviously is there. Simeon, I think Steven Matz. So they've got a lot of new faces that can come in and
Mhm.
contribute as well, and that can be a sneaky good team in that division.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. We'll see. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Apparently dropped some weight this offseason as well and has looked better. I haven't seen how he's done in spring training. Um, but it's I want to see him do well. I think it
Yeah,
would be more more fun if he is. So I do hope to see that that does end up being the case. But yeah, they could be a fun team too for sure. This is still a really talented division, but New York sitting at the top of that.
yep. And so now we'll move on to our AL Central, which we have our first different
Hey, we finally
opinion
disagree
here.
with something.
Yeah,
Wow.
and really like it, it's very close for me too. Like I think this could go either way. So I do have the Minnesota Twins winning the Central. You have the Chicago White Sox. I think both these teams are, kind of neck and neck with each other, as well. With the White Sox, obviously you got LaRussa is coming back, to manage them. They have a really talented young core, a really good pitching staff as well. Giolito, I think, is my favorite for the Cy Young Award. And then, yeah, it's just I think it's going to be a very fun team, to watch this year. And I think they're going to have a lot of really good success.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that they're my pick to win the division. And I mean, Jose Abreu coming right off that MVP season, and um, have you Tim Anderson, Yamakata, Luis Robert, the team, man, it's just they're kind of in the same. I look at them in the same breath as the Padres in terms of like they're. If I had to pick two teams that weren't the Cardinals to watch this year, it would probably be the Padres and the White Sox.
Yeah, I agree. Those are
The
probably
Mariners would be up there for me too, just because they're finally improving, and they are my second favorite baseball team, just of my lifetime.
shout out to Griffey.
Yeah, so I mean, they don't nobody touches the Cardinals, but being born in Seattle, kind of defaulted all of their teams as kind of like my second favorite teams, other than the Seahawks.
Yeah, I was gonna
They
say, I was
they
like,
can burn in hell,
wait a
but
minute here.
yeah,
Wait a
no,
minute.
they were the one that like I already had the St. Louis fandom, and with the Rams growing up, and then the division rivalry and all that. So they were the only ones that know. But the Mariners and then the Sonics at the time, um, were kind of my default second favorite teams. But I think the White Sox and the Padres are going to be like the two most fun teams to watch this year. Um, but I do agree that I do think Minnesota is a really good team. Their pitching rotation makes me nervous though. I mean, I like Kenta Maeda, and it'd be nice to see Barrios kind of break through. We've been waiting to see the ace potential that he's shown for a couple of years now. If this is the year that he does it, that could be um, a big swinging piece for them to possibly put them over the top in the division. But um, it was good to see him bring Nelson Cruz back too. I think that'll help. But I don't think that they're a better team than the White Sox, and I'm feeling pretty comfortable. I feel pretty comfortable saying that as things stand right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue that for sure. I just, I just think Chicago and the Twins. That's going to be a battle to watch
Yeah,
all season with that
yeah,
division.
they're two really
Obviously,
good
you still have
teams.
Cleveland in that division. Absolutely a force in the pitching game, and but their offense is very anemic, anemic to say the least.
Yeah,
And so it just kind of is what it is with that division. We'll move on here to the AL West, where we both have the Houston Astros winning. Regardless of the cheating, and George Springer is going to be a loss for them as well, but it's still a very, very good team. And I think too. I mean, if the Angels can stay healthy, that could be a team that sneaks in as well in that division. That could possibly come in and win it as well.
yeah. I wanted to pick the Angels just out of wanting to see Mike Trout win, for sure in the playoffs by winning the division. And because, just I don't like Houston and don't want to pick them to win the division. And so I wanted to, I was like, man, maybe I'll go the Angels direction or maybe Seattle or Oakland. But it was tough even with Justin Verlander, he's still recovering from Tommy John. And them losing George Springer, like you said, I mean, they did bring Yodan Alvarez back, so they're getting him back from his injury. So that I think that'll be a big deal for them. And then bringing in Odorizzi, like we talked about earlier, I thought was a good addition. So I mean, they still got Altuve, they still got Bregman. They're still a talented team, but they're the one that I definitely hope I'm wrong about. I would really rather see
Yeah,
any
I
other
think
team in the
everybody
division
except the
win.
city of Houston wants to see the Astros win.
Right.
So,
Yeah. The only team I
but
think really doesn't have a chance to do anything in that division is the Rangers. But outside of that, I think, Seattle's probably still a year or two away, but they are definitely going to be an improved team, I think. And then the
yeah,
Angels,
I
it
can
really
definitely
just
see
comes
them
down
breaking
to,
70 games this year.
um, I think the Angels, the question really is just what they have with the pitching staff. I don't know why the Angels refuse to give Trout starting pitchers. You're just pitching in general, really bullpen included. I don't, just like Trout's got to be like, please give me some pitching, and they're like, all right, and then go sign another position player somewhere. Like I don't, I don't know why they won't get any pitching. So that concerns me. But they're going to have, they, if assuming health, they should have a great offense. So it's just, what they end up getting from the pitching.
Yeah,
We'll have to see, because I mean they
uh,
have
I'm
Dylan
curious.
Bundy.
I'm curious to see how they're going to use Otani this year. That's
Yeah, he's
he,
looked really good in
dude.
spring
He
training.
might
Oh
be
my
like
God.
one of the most fun players, just the players in general, for me to watch because
Yeah.
you got a guy that's hitting 100, on the radar pitching, and then he can go out and drop a 450-yard home run, as well. Like, guy's a great hitter. I think he's obviously a very dangerous pitcher. And I'll kind of touch on him here in a few minutes as well. But
Yeah, right, right.
but yeah, he's a guy that I'm really excited to watch with the Angels this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if he can stay healthy, it could be a lot of fun for sure. So I'm
The Japanese
looking forward to
baseball.
seeing what happens with that. Yeah.
Um, All right, so we did cover the West. Now we can kind of get into our wild card teams. We'll start here with the NL wild card. And I know we've kind of touched on one of these teams already. We both have the San Diego Padres in the first wild card spot.
Yep.
And like I said, we've touched on them before, but just an extremely talented team, extremely fun to watch this year. I'm really excited to kind of see what they end up putting together out there in San Diego. It
Yeah.
just seems like the state of California is very blessed with baseball between the Angels, the Dodgers, and the Padres.
They sure are.
And I mean, the Athletics, they might be fun. I mean, I don't know if they're going to win that many games, but they could definitely be a fun team to watch.
They always put a talented team on the
Yeah.
field. It's never expensive and it's always talented.
Yeah. And so, like I said, we won't spend too much time there with that. But our next team, we didn't really get a chance to touch on too much. I know we kind of covered bases as far as um, what we were talking about in the beginning, but we both have the New York Mets in the wild card two spot, and that's another team that's just absolutely filthy rotation, pitching wise. And if their bats can get going, I think they can be as good as any team in the National League.
Yeah, I mean, trading for the best shortstop in baseball definitely helps. And um, getting Marcus Stroman back after he opted out of the 2020 season, Carlos Carrasco, Tawan Walker. I mean, we'll see if Pete Alonso bounces back to his rookie of the year season or something. That don't really expect him to have to hit 53 home runs again, but get back somewhat to that level of his 2019 season that he played at. And I'd be interested. Marcus Stroman's always been kind of one of my favorite pitchers, but I don't think he played, if I'm remembering, it's been a few years, but I don't remember if he played as well in 2019 as I thought he should. I feel like without going back and look at it, that he was somebody that um, I was kind of disappointed in. But so see if we can get if they can get Marcus Stroman back to his potential. Yeah, I mean, I think that they've got a chance to challenge the Braves for the division for sure, and get that wild card spot. I think one thing that did stand out for me is I think the National League was a little bit easier to pick at this level than the American League.
They're so
Like,
they're so top heavy. It's
yeah,
almost like you have the haves and the have-nots. Like, where I mean, I don't know if any of you guys that are listening, if you've ever driven through Louisville, but it's like going through Louisville, where you go through Louisville and you hit this real rich neighborhood. And it's these super nice mansions and these great houses, and then you go a couple blocks over,
yeah,
and you're in the very rundown part of the town. So it's very much haves or have-nots. You've got kind of a clear cut, you know, 5 to 6 really really good teams, and then
yeah. I
everybody
think
else
it
is just kind of
was
there.
these five playoff teams that we both had. We for the National League, we picked the same three division winners and the same two wild card teams, across the board. And outside of those five teams, the Brewers were the only one I was really considering for another wild card spot. It was between the Brewers and the Mets, but that was where the list stopped. Really, there wasn't any other team,
Right.
like the Phillies or the Cubs or the Giants. The Giants were, I do think that they're going to be an improved team, but they weren't really ever in consideration for me once I really sat down and started looking at it for one of those spots. So yeah, I think that there's always going to be a surprise team or two once the season actually gets going. Like trying to make predictions is one of the
It's
most
almost
fun but
it's
dumb
almost
things to
pointless.
do. Yeah, there's so many variables that end up changing. But yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, I think that there's 6 teams going for 5 spots, and outside of that, I mean, insert surprise team here, but that's kind of where the National League stands for me.
Yeah. And then getting into our AL wildcard teams, this is where we do actually have a couple different options here. Um, where we do have the I have the Chicago White Sox in the wild card 1 spot instead of the Central Division champions, whereas you have them winning the Central, and then you have Minnesota in the wild card spot. So we just kind of flip flopped around there. But obviously, we've already hit on both those teams, kind of what we think.
Hmm.
And then the
Yep.
one where we actually get a little different here is, like I said, I wanted to be a little different. I wanted to have one of those surprise teams possibly um, come in here. And I have the Cleveland Indians with that pitching staff sneaking into the wild card 2 spot. And you have the Angels here. And I didn't really think it was, like I said, I wanted to kind of be different. Obviously, I would like to pick the Angels because of who I have as the AL MVP. I think if this person does have an MVP season, they're going to have to make the playoffs for that to happen.
Yeah.
So uh, probably should have thought that through a little bit better. But like I said, I kind of wanted to put one of these surprise teams just to kind of give an idea of what could happen in there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and this was 10 playoff spots that we're talking about at this point. We had 9. Some of the teams were getting there in different fashions, but 9 out of our 10 playoff teams were the same. And then this second American League wild card spot is the only one where we actually differed in, just the team in general. So like that's to my point earlier. I was amazed whenever I put these side by side after you sent me your stuff, and I put what I had typed out next to what you sent me. So, and this was definitely the hardest of the spots for me to pick.
Yeah.
I ended up going with the Angels. I was considering Tampa Bay. I was considering Toronto. I was considering. I did consider the Indians and Oakland and possibly the Mariners. Like, I mean, there's a lot of teams that I think have the potential to be really good teams this year, and I think um, that wild card spot that doesn't go. I don't think it's going to be the Indians, just because I think that they're kind of shown that they're going to go in a direction where that would be surprised if they weren't selling at the deadline, even if they're kind of like they're on the brink. Like they can either try to trade for a couple people to go grab a wild card spot, or they could trade to start rebuilding. I think that they would choose to go that way. So I didn't really. I'm not sure about the Indians, but they do have, as always, an incredible amount of pitching talent. So, things could break their way, and it wouldn't really surprise me either. I think that the back end of the American League, I think, is very open and is going to be a fun race to watch. I didn't really struggle too much with my, other than just the internal struggle of not wanting to pick the Astros. I really didn't struggle too much with my division winners. And the first wild card spot, I think the Twins are the clear next best team for me in the American League. But that second wild card spot, that was by far the toughest thing for me to pick. So I'll be really interested to see how it plays out. But it really just came down to me, man. Just I want to see Mike Trout in the playoffs. Like he's played like 3 playoff games his entire career, I think, and the Angels' inabilities to surround him with better talent for the majority of his career is upsetting. And I mean, granted, the last couple off seasons they have made some moves to try to improve that, and hopefully that shows this season, and
Yeah.
the health factor
Yeah,
breaks their
yeah.
way
And he's
too.
not getting any younger as well. I believe
Exactly.
he's 30 as well. So because I want to say he was, I think he's just a few months younger than I am. Um, so, which is weird to think about because we're here we are. It's like, whenever you get 30 in baseball, that's where you're kind of peaking, but you're on the downward slope of the peak.
Yeah,
And here I am as well. And I'm just like, it's not that old. Like, that's not old.
yeah, he's 29. He'll be 30 in August. So yeah, wow, that's insane, man.
It is. It is
He's
wild
a
to think
he's
about.
a month younger than I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't even
Wow.
think about that. Yeah. You're going to be 30 this year, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna be 30 in July. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Mm,
going to be fun.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, but man, he's incredible, man. And
yeah.
I'll be talking about him later too.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead here, and then we're going to give you our World Series matchups as well as our World Series winners. They are a little bit different here in one of the spots. So World Series matchups, I have the Dodgers versus the Yankees, just the classic, talent versus talent, payroll versus payroll, you know, baseball, Major League Baseball matchup here. And I think these are clearly, for me, the two best teams in baseball outside of maybe the Padres. So, um, and I mean, I really do like Atlanta as well. I'm a huge, Atlanta fan this season. I think they're going to be extremely fun to watch with that pitching. And I think their pitching staff, like we talked about earlier, I think it's pretty underrated. And obviously, those bats are just, that that hitting lineup is just disgusting. So they're possibly a team, but the Dodgers versus the Yankees, two classic franchises going back at it. And I do have the Los Angeles Dodgers repeating this time, not in a 60 game season. We're going the full shebang.
Thank God.
Yeah. And I think they get it done. As long as there's no, because, obviously COVID is still a thing right now. And so I think as long as, injuries don't happen, as long as COVID kind of keeps it, they keep it at bay and all that kind of stuff, I just don't see any way the Dodgers don't repeat.
Yep. And I go a different route than you to get there, but end up getting to the same place. I had the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Chicago White Sox, and I don't necessarily disagree with what you said about the Yankees being the clear
Second best team.
second best team in the league. Yeah, but um, the White Sox just seem like a team where if a couple things break their way, man, if the back end, like if the fourth or fifth starter just ends up being a little bit better than people think, or if they're able to acquire somebody at the deadline, like another starting pitcher, um, man, I think this team is just built to do something special. Now, unfortunately, that something special isn't winning the World Series because they are going up against one of the most talented teams I can really remember
Probably.
seeing
Yeah.
in like, in like just without really sitting down and digging into it. And this is obviously talking about before the season even starts and we don't even know how this thing's going to play out, but on paper, one of the most talented teams I can remember seeing. So unfortunate for the White Sox, who are going to be a fun story this year, I think, but I do have them making it to the World Series, beating the Yankees to get there and playing the Dodgers, and then the Dodgers repeating as well.
Yeah. So now we kind of gave you our thoughts on the divisions, the wild cards, the World Series, how we think everything's going to play. So now let's kind of get into our individual awards for the season, and we do actually have some differences here.
Finally, yeah.
Yeah, so this is going to be fun to kind of talk about as well. So we'll start here with the NL MVP. I have Juan Soto, the young up and coming superstar. Um, I really shouldn't even say up and coming because the guy
He's
is a
here.
superstar. He's there.
Yeah,
And you have Mookie Betts. So
I do. Yeah. I mean,
I'll go ahead and let you, do your piece. Obviously, not a bad choice at all. I love Mookie.
I think this is I haven't looked at the betting odds, but if I had to guess, he's probably the favorite in terms of the betting odds. So I kind of took the layup here, in my opinion. the person I wanted to pick was Nolan Arenado.
We-
I
yeah,
had to keep myself from doing it, but that's who I wanted to pick, man. I mean, I think the Cardinals are going to win the division. I think they're going to be an improved offensive team. I think he's going to be a huge reason why. And I think I do think there's still some people out there that attribute some of his success to
of
where he got to
course.
play his home
Yeah,
game. So I think the fact that he's not going to have that, but at least still, I believe 100% in the player, and I think he's going to have a great season and really open some people's eyes that maybe don't have as high as expectations as some others. So I wanted to pick Arenado, but I think the Dodgers are going to win over 100 games. I think, Mookie Betts had his fair share of postseason struggles in Boston, but he didn't have very many regular season struggles. And he definitely didn't have any postseason struggles, at least in the World Series last year. Um, so, with him kind of getting that monkey off his back, I think, and them being on this loaded team, and Mookie's really just going to go out and get to do his thing. And it's even though he's a star player on the star team, I really don't feel like there's that much pressure on Mookie just because there's so much talent
yeah,
on the roster. Um, so yeah, I think that. I think Mookie Betts is the safe bet for me, but I do like I'll let you expand on it a little bit more, but I do like your Juan Soto pick though. He's a hell of a player.
yeah. Obviously, we're taking into account, injuries and all that kind of stuff. We don't ever know. And like you said, Mookie does play on definitely a more talented team. They're definitely going to have more wins than the Nationals do. But I just think this is the season, even opposed to the years before, where if health ends up breaking his way, which I know he's kind of dealing with a little minor something right now, but it's not going to impact his status apparently for opening day. I think this is the year where Juan Soto kind of has that Mike Trout, announcement where he's just like, you know what, I'm here and I'm going to be the best player in baseball for the next decade. Um, I, I'm really excited to watch what he's going to do.
I
Obviously,
do.
still a super young guy. I believe he's only 22 years old, but he's a guy that just he knows how to, he's almost one of those guys that you watch hit and it almost redefines the way that you think of people that age being able to come into the majors and hit the baseball. It's it's a thing of beauty to watch, and I think that obviously he's going to be in the outfield and make some great defensive plays as well. Um, Regardless of team success, I just think Juan Soto is in for an absolutely monster season this year,
Oh
and
yeah, I couldn't agree more.
and I think that's just going to kind of overpower. Possibly, people are going to look at Mookie Betts and say like, "Well, yeah, Mookie's done a great job, but look what he has to work with." And whereas Juan Soto, is going to be the guy on that team that I think is going to possibly have to push them to even be in possible contention. Like I said,
Yeah,
we don't have them. We
there's
we
a
don't
pretty
have
big
them
drop
making. Yeah,
after him and Trey Turner. There's a pretty big drop in
yeah,
terms of talent in that, in the lineup. They've got I mean the pitching's great, but the lineup is going to be depending a lot on Trey Turner and Juan Soto's success. So
yeah, and
yeah, it's going to be tough.
yeah. So I mean, he's got that working against him as far as the wins column and them not making the playoffs. I know both of us don't have them making the playoffs, but I think
No.
people can kind of take the Mike Trout route where they're going to take a step back and say, yeah, they didn't make the playoffs, but look what this dude is doing.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to watch him. So that's who I have as my NL MVP.
Yeah. No, it's I can't really disagree. I think that was I mean, I know for me personally, I'm glad I went with Mookie, so we disagreed, but these were the two guys that I was picking between whenever I sat down to make my NLB pick. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good pick. I don't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah. So, and then we go AL MVP. I do kind of have a little bit of a dark horse in here for mine.
I like it
Obviously,
though. It's fun.
yeah, obviously, we have Mike Trout, and that's who you picked. And I'll kind of let you, to be fair, we both picked Los Angeles Angels to win the
Yeah.
award.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just surprisingly, if you're listening to this, you're gonna be thinking, oh well, they picked Angels, Mike Trout. It is what it is. Wrong.
For
I
one of
have an
us, you would
angel
be
going, but
correct.
it's not Mike Trout, and it's a guy that I touched on earlier. That if he can stay healthy, I've he might be the most fun player this year for me to watch outside of anybody wearing a Cardinals jersey. So I have Shohei Ohtani winning the AL MVP. Like I said earlier, you got a guy that's touching 100 on the radar, and then he's going out and hitting 460, yard
The
bombs.
bombs, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the guy is just a fantastic hitter on his own, and then
Oh yeah, he's a great
yeah,
hitter.
yeah,
Yeah.
great hitter on his own. And then you possibly throw him out there to pitch, which obviously they're going to have to manage his innings. I know they're not going to play him strictly. He might, get 3 or 4 innings here and there. And then on the days where he's pitching, obviously, I don't think they're gonna they're gonna run him out in the rotation as well. But you never know. I'm curious to
They
see how they're
might,
gonna.
man.
Yeah, I
Who
was gonna say, dude,
knows?
I'm so curious because this guy has all the talent in the world. Um,
Yeah, he's so much fun, man. It's so
it's
cool
absolutely
to
ridiculous.
be that dominant of a pitcher and that dominant of a hitter. Like, granted, health has not broken his way, but
Right.
his pure skill to be so good at both of, like, hitting a baseball is really fucking hard, and then
Yeah. Like,
throwing a baseball that hard, that accurately, and with that much movement that he has in some of his pitches is really fucking hard, and he's really good at both of
yeah,
them.
both of them. Yeah, like
Like,
top
so
level stuff.
if he stays healthy and he does get to pitch a decent amount of innings, and then he has the,
I think I think if they can give him 150 innings and he can go out there and drop 30 to 40 home runs, that's kind of what I'm projecting. I think he wins the MVP award.
yeah, I don't think there's any. I mean, if he has that big of an impact on both sides of the coin, I don't think there's any way he doesn't win MVP, honestly. Um, so it's a lot of things to break his way, but it's a fun pick though.
But if
I
it does
like
break
it.
his way,
Yeah, I
like
like
I
it.
said, he's going to be so fun. So I'm curious to see that. And like I said, I wanted to do something a little bit different than just the cookie cutter Mike Trout, best player in the last 25 years outside of Pujols.
Well, you know what? You pass me the ball, and I'll take that layup
There you go.
because I'm taking it, man. I will gladly take the best player in baseball. Um, I'm on the record saying multiple times and still feel confident saying that, assuming health for the rest of his career, I think he could easily end up making a case that he's the best player in baseball history. I think he's that good of a baseball player.
Yeah, it's
Um,
ridiculous.
and if the Angels do see some more success, if Trout does see a healthy season, Mike Trout is so good that as long as that's all I need to know is you tell me that he played the majority of the games and he's healthy, and I will be
I
able.
think
I
you meant
will
the
bet.
Angels, by the way, not the Yankees,
Did I
because I
say the
don't.
Yankees?
Yeah, you did say Yankees,
Oh
and,
wow.
and I don't ever want to see
Oh
Mike Trout wearing
no,
pinstripes in
no.
my life.
I must have been thinking my follow up was going to be that I do think Aaron Judge
Yeah,
has a shot if he stays healthy. So I had Yankees in the back of my mind, um, but yeah, if the Angels see somewhat of an improvement this year, like, literally all you have to tell me is that Mike Trout's healthy for most of the games, and I'll pick him to win MVP. And I'll put a, like, if somebody in the future, like, you can't tell me if he's going to win the MVP or not, but if somebody from the future could say, yes, Mike Trout plays on basically the entire season, I'm going tomorrow and putting as much money as I can on him to win MVP, because he is just so incredibly good at baseball that I don't have any doubts that he'll put up the numbers to have an MVP
right.
case as long as he's on the field.
Yeah,
So
and he is
it,
a guy that has struggled with injuries as well the last few years. So,
yeah, yeah.
obviously, we're projecting these guys to be healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm never going to try to guess that a player's going to get
Injuries,
hurt.
there's no rhyme
Yeah,
or reason.
no,
But yeah, that's very hard to argue. The only reason I didn't go with him is just because, like I said, I wanted to do kind of something more exciting.
I
Uh,
like it. I like it. I think it's cool, man.
yeah, so we'll see how the MVP award ends up playing out. But should all 4 guys are going to be extremely great guys to watch this season.
I just want guys to stay healthy, man. We've talked about so many guys today up to this point already
It's like,
that,
well, if they're just healthy.
yeah, yeah. How many times have we said that tonight?
Yeah.
Like, it just, please let these guys stay healthy. There's so much talent. The
In
MLB needs to do a better
baseball.
job getting this talent projected out there to the world and
Yeah,
stop doing
and
all these
that's actually
fucking,
the point I was going to make next is like there's so much talent right now in the game and so many good teams from top to bottom. I mean, there's really only about 3 or 4 teams out of all of them that you can say like those teams fucking suck. And then everybody else, I mean, obviously, like we said, you have your 5 or 6 that are, you know, clearly the best teams in baseball,
Right.
but those other teams are going to be good to watch and they're going to be in contention. And that's going to be good. And so a lot of those teams have players that have the potential to be stars, like the Nationals, for example, like we were talking about. You know, they might not win a shit ton of games, or I mean, they're not going to lose a ton of games, but they might not be, you know, top of the line best teams in baseball. They're kind of a middle of the road team right now with how we're looking at stuff. But you have a guy like Juan Soto and Trey Turner there. Like those are guys that you can tune in.
Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg and
Oh,
Patrick
and
Corbin in the
Strasburg's
rotation.
another one that if he can just stay healthy.
Yeah.
And but these are guys that you're going to be able to turn on a baseball game, a random night of the week, and you're going to be able to watch these guys, and you're going to say like, well, damn, this game's been really exciting. Maybe I need to
Yeah.
watch more baseball.
I don't understand why the MLB makes it harder, not easier for
Well,
fans to watch baseball
well, really,
games. Like,
we can get into a huge soapbox about this, but anytime you have a guy like Manfred who doesn't like the sport that he's the commissioner of, that's a huge. He's by far the worst commissioner out of all the major sports, and I just don't
oh,
understand
I couldn't agree more.
why
Yeah.
you would hire a guy that doesn't like baseball to run the fucking league. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. So I think that's a huge issue. Which, like I said, we can spend a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, Lord, we hadn't even made it to Cy Young yet. And I could spend another hour talking about how much I can't stand Manfred and how annoying it is. Like my my experience of trying to watch Cardinals games my entire life before moving to St. Louis without going broke by buying Sunday ticket, because Sunday ticket's the only option out there and it's
Yeah,
like
plus like $300
$900 for
to
three
watch.
months. Like so like my experience of watching Cardinals games growing up in Kentucky, and every single game I'm clicking on, oh, blackout, blackout, and I come up here and I get to watch every single game on cable, just the standard cable Fox Sports Midwest. Bam, I've got every single damn Cardinals game. I'm like, man, why is this only available right here? Like the Cardinals have a humongous fan base. Why is this not an easier thing to obtain without giving DirecTV $9,000?
Yeah, and then
But
on top of that, so look, Manfred is the reason why why piracy exists. Okay, that guy's the
yeah,
reason that him and Dana White are the
he's
two
the reason
reasons
why
why
he's the reason
fucking
why Mike
piracy exists
Trout
in
isn't
sports.
appreciated the way that he should be. Like
Yeah,
Mike Trout, it's this guy is one of the best players of all time in the middle of his prime, and half the country doesn't understand how good he is because
because
he's never on
you can't see it.
TV.
Yeah,
Like, oh my
it's
God, man, it's
it's
so
ridiculous,
annoying.
man. It is ridiculous. But I will say this for everybody out there: if you do invest in a really good VPN service, um, then you can set your location to wherever you want, and then sign in to like say the Fox Sports app. Say you're say
That's
you
a
are in
that's a
St.
good tip.
Louis.
Yeah.
Yes, say you are in St. Louis, and then boom, your game's not blacked out. So that is kind of a little hack as well. So if you are into kind of VPNs and if you need any help walking through it, you can always get hold of me, and I can kind of give you my workaround. And I also too, I may or may not, I don't really think I do, wink, have some sites that you could get on to watch games, and
Right.
that's about 1080p clarity. So
Yeah.
hit me up if you do have trouble watching baseball this year, and we will make sure
We'll give
that,
Manfred the finger together.
yeah, exactly. We will make sure you can watch all the baseball you can watch if you are interested in it. Which now let's finally get to the Cy Young Awards. Like I said, we haven't made it to Cy Young yet. So our NL Cy Young Award repeat from last year. Um, my fantasy god for the season, hopefully, Jacob DeGrom. He's
Yeah.
just I think we both agree that he's probably the best pitcher in baseball right now.
Yeah, definitely. And he's only getting better somehow. Doesn't
Yeah,
make sense, but
and this spring the guys just looked untouchable. I mean, you can't touch him this spring, and if he can just carry on what he did last year and improve, like I said, improve on what he did last year, which somehow he is doing, I think he's far and away the best pitcher in baseball right now.
yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there are a couple, like I think the American League is much easier to is much easier to debate. than the National League is. I mean, you just, I think, I guess if Walker Buehler has a good year, maybe, with how many games the Dodgers are going to win, maybe he is able to sneak in there. But I mean, the Mets are going to be an improved team, and like Jacob DeGrom won the Cy Young, whenever the Mets didn't like, he's won awards without them having a great season, and he doesn't need the Mets to win a bunch of ball games for him to win the Cy Young. He's the best pitcher in baseball, and there's been no reason to see why that's going to change.
Yeah.
So this is definitely the easy bet in the National League.
Yeah, for sure. And then I mean, you do have some other really good pitchers. Like I know, you just touched on, and then you guys like you Darvish out there. That
Mm,
I think he finished second last year to Degrom. So if Darvish can improve as well, we'll see
yeah.
what happens with that. But the AL is definitely where some of these other guys kind of fit in. So the AL Cy Young, we do have difference of opinions here. I have Lucas Giolito from the White Sox winning the Cy Young, and you have Garrett Cole from the Yankees. I think Shane Bieber is another guy you could possibly sneak in there as well.
Those were the three
Um,
I was picking from.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's clearly I think those three, and there are some other good options there, but I think from top to bottom, those three are just kind of right there in the thick of the awards, and I think either way you go, it's you're not really picking a bad choice there.
No, no. I mean, I think, I for me, it really just came down to, I think Garrett Cole is gonna get back to the dominance we saw a couple years ago. I think the Yankees are going to be the best team in the American League. Um, and I think that Cole is going to be a big reason why, because I do think that I think there are plenty of question marks behind him in that rotation. So I think his importance to the team and to that rotation is going to be made very clear this year. So I ended up going with Cole, but like I said, I was choosing between him and the guy you chose and Shane Bieber. So I don't have any problem with your pick either.
Yeah, so we'll kind of see how that one plays out, and now we will get to our rookies of the year.
I couldn't
Where
believe this. I could believe the National League. I could not believe we picked the same of both rookie of the years, but go ahead.
yeah, so this is where we both we both ended up having the same rookie of the years here for both conferences. NL rookie of the year, we had to do it to him one time, and we did touch on Cabrian Hayes
I think
from
he's the favorite,
yeah
honestly.
yeah we did yeah
Like,
we did touch on him from the Pirates.
I 100% let my Cardinal fandom
Yeah,
sway me in this
yeah,
direction, because I do think Dylan Carlson's going to have a great year. But
me too.
if I took the fandom out of it, Brian Hayes would probably be the pick. I think he's in for an incredible year. It sucks. It's going to be wasted in Pittsburgh. Um, but so I think he probably would be the favorite. But this one I wasn't shocked to see us both pick Dylan Carlson, because he has the potential to have an incredible year too, and he's a Cardinal.
Right.
So, um, but
And I believe he was actually the fan pick as well.
oh really?
Yeah, on whenever they were doing the awards for the fans to kind of choose who they thought was going to win some of the awards. I believe Dylan Carlson was the fan pick
Oh,
for
Cardinal Nation runs deep, so I'm not surprised if it's like a fan poll. I'm really not surprised to see him
right,
up there either, because you know how that stuff goes. So
right. And then our AL Rookie of the Year. I'll let you kind of touch on it because we
can't
both have
I
the same guy.
I can't believe this, man. But yeah, Jared Kalenic is. I mean, he's my pick for American League Rookie of the Year as well. I've said a couple of different times how I think Seattle um, is a team that is definitely improved, and he's going to be a big reason why. So um, he, yeah, I mean, he's my pick for American League Rookie of the Year. I wanted to show Seattle some love, and I got to be honest, I was not expecting to have you doing the same. So
Yeah, so I actually have Kalanick on my fantasy team. I drafted him because I do think he is in for a really good year. Now he was reassigned to the minor league just a couple days ago, but I don't really think that's going to last long
no, no,
because
definitely
of
not.
how great he played this year or this spring. He slashed I believe it was 333, 478, with 778 with 2 homers, 7 runs, and 5 RBIs over 9 games this spring. Um, and if he can just kind of continue, obviously, we can talk about his talent, uh, you know, the speed should kind of help make him a little bit easier to kind of accumulate, or I'm trying to think of the word to say here, but accustomed is the word I was looking for. I think his speed can kind of help him get accustomed more to the majors, as opposed to some of the other guys. And I think if he can just kind of continue his strong play coming out of the gates, whenever he does eventually get called up, because it will happen, and it will happen very soon, I believe. I think he's in for a very, very good rookie of the year season.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a great arm. He's got great speed. He hits the ball to all fields. I mean,
Yeah, the guy
he's
gets on base. He gets on
he's in
base.
he's and he has some sneaky power too. As well. I'm not sure it's really even so sneaky anymore after what he's shown. But um, yeah, between the three teams he played on in 2019, he had 23 home runs. Yeah, no, I honestly thought that you were gonna go with Randy Rosarino, which I would imagine is probably the favorite right now after the postseason that he had last year. And then, depending on how much, like, I don't know what the situation is with Wander Franco. I know that the Tampa Bay's #1 prospect. I don't know if he's going to end up getting to play this year or enough to qualify him for Rookie of the Year considerations or not. But if he ends up meeting the innings requirements, um, then maybe. And then another sneaky one that I like in the American League is Bobby Dalbec from the Boston Red Sox too.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a guy that I was kind of looking towards as well.
So, but yeah, I think that I was extremely excited to see that we both picked Clinic. I thought that that was really cool because I was expecting, like, I knew I was going to pick Clinic to show Seattle love, and any opportunity I get to do that, I'm going to. But I assumed that one of us would be picking a Rosarita, with the obvious Cardinals connection with him getting moving that trade for us getting Liberatore. Um, and then him having the postseason that he did. I can't, since neither one of us picked him to win it, I can't not show him some love and say that I do think that he's right there in the thick of things to probably be the favorite for it.
Yeah, I think he's probably the betting favorite right now. If I was to put money down on it, that's probably who I would go towards.
Yeah.
But I think just looking, trying to do it from like a non-biased standpoint of somebody who I think is going to just kind of come in and make a big impact on the team that they're playing for, um, during the regular season. As far as, I think Kellenic is going to have a bigger impact for his team to do well, and I think that's possibly going to translate to a Rookie of the Year award.
Yeah, no, I like it, man. I'm excited to see Seattle have some players in this conversation. I think they had Kyle Lewis, I'm pretty sure, won Rookie of the Year too. Um, So and they've got, man, that outfield's loaded with young. The team really in general with that outfield's a
Yeah,
lot of fun. With getting Mitch Haniger back too, he had an incredible, um, I believe it was 2019. So there's a lot of fun guys to watch on that team. So I'm excited for Seattle. But yeah, Jared Kalenic is a big reason why.
yep. So that kind of takes care of our predictions. What we kind of think is going to play out. Like I said, this is going to be all very health dependent. So don't knock us whenever some of these guys, play 60 games and then you're like, well, you said blah, blah, blah. Don't be coming at us over that bullshit. So, but I mean, I'm just so excited to watch some baseball.
Oh, I am too, man.
I think Jared's coming over Thursday night, and we might do a little fan duel as well, kind of get in on some betting actions.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got a nice little 70-inch beside me here in the game room, uh, right next to these whiskeys here, and might pour me a glass and crack on the old 70-inch and just kind of make a night of it.
Yeah, I can't wait either, man. It's gonna be so good to have baseball back and to have a hopefully,
Semi-normal year.
yeah, hopefully a full season of normal baseball, and hopefully, as we've stressed all episode, of a healthy baseball. That's all I want, man. I just want there's so much talent in the MLB right now. I just want to see these guys stay healthy and play baseball. It's to me, it's the most beautiful sport in the world, and there's so much incredible talent to play it at the highest level. I just want to get to watch all of it, man, without any of the injuries or any of the other bullshit, and just get back to normalcy.
Yeah. And another big thing for you, speaking of baseball, but MLB The Show comes out here in just a few weeks as well. It's finally
Yeah,
on Xbox. So
yeah,
uh,
yeah. I literally bought a PlayStation just for the show. It's the only game I've ever bought for my PlayStation. Everything else I always played on Xbox. So it'll be good to get to grab that and have some fun. Go. I could tell you who's winning MVP in the National League on the show. I guarantee you, no, Ronaldo's winning that thing, and whenever on my season on the show, I can
yeah,
promise you that.
probably gonna hit what 75 homers.
Yeah, light 70 at least. Yeah.
So this will take care of our episode today. I know we touched on it earlier in the episode, but if you are interested in our fantasy show that we did with our live draft, make sure to check that out on YouTube.
That was so much
Watch the
fun.
video. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, great time with some great guys as well. I'm sure you'll definitely have fun watching that because I watched a little bit earlier today as well, and it was just funny. It's funny because like whenever you're in draft mode, like you don't kind of catch a lot of the stuff because you're
Right.
focused. And I was going
Yeah.
back today and I was catching some of the stuff people were saying, and I was just kind of in the middle of drafting, and it just had me cracking up.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check that one out. And then this one, of course, will be on YouTube as well. You can kind of see our picks here on the screen. If you don't want to listen the entire way through the podcast, go ahead and check that out on
Yeah,
YouTube.
you didn't even got to listen to the whole thing to be able to roast us for our picks on this one. You can just click, hit the pause
Hit the
button,
comment button.
and then read through it, and then hit the comment button. Tell us how dumb we are.
Yeah, which we haven't had anybody do since that Giants fan kind of popped off. So
Oh,
I,
I'm sad, man.
I
I'm
know.
sad. I need more of it in my life.
Yeah, we need some more comments shit talking us that's outside of our own fantasy group.
Right.
So
Right.
we will we'll go into end our episode there. I'll let you kind of do the closing like you always do.
Yeah, yeah. So, of course, if you like what you heard today, you want to listen to more, we're pretty much anywhere you find your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. And that what I think is the best viewing method is going over to YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Once you do subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell that pops up so that you can be notified whenever we do upload new videos, and you can see our ugly mugs talk about sports with these cool little backdrops of our predictions and things like that, and the beautiful cardinal red all over the place. Um, and then the added plus of YouTube is that's the platform where you get to tell us how wrong we are with your comments. Please, be sure to leave some comments. Let us know where we're right, where we're wrong, and what you think. Just say, hey, you're stupid. Tell me why I'm stupid.
Yeah,
Tell me
and
which team I'm stupid
and
on.
even if you don't want to, even if you don't want to tell us where we're right, we'll let you know whenever we're right. So you can just tell us we're
Right, right. So, yeah, we're active in the comments. If we get any traction on that point, I like to, even if it's through text, I like debate the sports regardless of if it's baseball, basketball, football. I don't care how we're talking about it. I'm down to talk about it. So, um, be sure to go over there. And then, of course, last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, if you've made it all the way through, you had to at least like this a little bit. So be sure to drop a like on the video as well. The likes and comments really help us out. So yeah, so with some love on the platforms, you have some discussions with us. And if you're passionate enough about it, come sit with us on a show and talk to us about it too.
Yeah, we would love to get some people on here as well, especially during baseball season. So if you are interested in hopping on a podcast, just reach out to either one of us, and we can definitely make that happen for you. Obviously, as well in the podcast game, we are on Spotify, we are on Apple, we are on pretty much anywhere that you can listen to a podcast. You're going to find us. So it is the Amateur Experts Podcast. Make sure to give us a review. Make sure to give us a rating. That helps as well, get us exposure. And make sure to share these podcasts and these videos with your friends as well, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you happen to have social media. Make sure to drop us a share as well and kind of let everybody know what we're doing over here. And outside of that, I think that covers all of our bases. Little baseball nod there. And we will end our episode here. Thank you guys so much for listening. Go Cardinals. Ready for a fun season. And we will see you next week.